Hey everyone, this is your quiz and test review for the first 3 lessons that we had in our inequalities unit. All right, so you should be watching this video first before you do any of the 3 big ideas homework, quiz, and test assignments. All right, so just real quick, these instructions are slightly different from the instructions I gave last time. So let's just read through these together. For both the quiz and the test, you should have nothing in front of you. All right, so when you log on your computer, you don't have your notes, your books, any type of material. All right, you should be doing both the quiz and the test completely on your own. All right, so I know many of you have help from parents or tutors or different people who are helping you, and that's awesome and that's great. But for the quiz and the test, I have to know what you know personally, okay? So you need to be doing it by yourself. All right, and then for both the quiz and the test, I need to remind you that you're only supposed to be using the basic calculator that we used in class. All right, and that's really important as well. All right, now for the test, this is so important, and I'm going to be a lot stricter this time around. Some of you, your work on your last test just was not what I was looking for, and I want you to remember, I want you to keep this in mind. If you were in my classroom taking the test, is the work that you're showing me what I would want to see on a test that we all take together in person? All right, so I need you to basically pretend like you're in school. All right, so you're going to use scratch paper. You have to number each question. I had several people submit work and it was all over the place, and there's no way for me to cross-check your answers when your work is not numbered. So you will definitely receive a deduction for that. All right, write the original problem, work when needed, and box your answer. And I'm going to show you in this PowerPoint exactly what I'm looking for on your work, so there should not be any questions at all. You must send me pictures of your work. I prefer remind, all right? And none of you should be below the age limit of 13, so there really shouldn't be any issues at all to send it through remind. If you have to, you can email it to me. It's just more difficult for me to keep track that way, so remind is definitely the best way. All right, so I'm going to be a lot stricter this time around on your work. If I do not receive work from you, I will put a 0 for a grade in the grade book until you have submitted your work. If you submit your test and you don't have any work to submit, at that point I have to go back in and reassign the test or do some other type of modification. You will receive a 20-point deduction on your test grade. That's off of the top of your grade, okay? And then I'll grade the test. So I cannot stress enough, show me your work, all right? Especially with inequalities, there's plenty of work to show, all right? And so with that being said, let's jump into what you can expect to see on your quiz, your review assignment, and your test. There is going to be quite a few problems where you're solving inequalities. So I took these problems from your test. If you see a double negative here, it means it's probably going to show up on your test. If you see, the order, like on the second problem where the variable comes after the inequality, you're probably going to see that on the test. All right, so let's go through this together. The first thing I want to do when I see a double negative is, of course, change that sign. All right, x plus 12 is less than or equal to 30. And before I go any farther also, I do want you guys pausing these videos before I explain the problem, and I want you to try to work these questions on your work before you see me work it out. All right, this is a review video, so you've already seen these lessons. So if you can work these problems ahead of me, that gives you a good idea of how well you understand the material. All right, now I want to subtract 12 from both sides, and x is less than or equal to 18. All right, this is the work that I have to see on your test. I've got to see that, okay? Now, the graph will be on your test. I'm not going to require you to show the graph in your scratch work. You can just put it right in on the test. But you must solve the inequality in your scratch work on your test. All right, we remember that the center number is always our solution. Okay. And on your test, it gives you several options. Okay, it gives you options with maybe a closed dot or an open dot and arrows going either way. So you have to decide, is this a closed dot or an open dot? It's closed. And then your arrow is going left because it's less than. So on your quiz and your test, you would choose the inequality option that looks like this in your options. Okay, and then just plot it on the value that you found to be the solution. All right, now, whenever we have these inequalities that we would say are written backwards and that the inequality comes after, the variable comes after the inequality, you need to rewrite these. So you take your x minus 15 and you write it first. But remember, it's closed off towards the x, so it needs to stay closed off towards the x. Now you just solve it. Add 15 to both sides. And x is less than 3. All right, and again, this is the work that you must show on your test. 3 is your solution. It's less than again, but now it's an open dot with an arrow going left. So again, on your quiz and your test, you would choose this symbol, and then you would click on the graph where your solution is, and then it would put the line in there for you, the arrow. Okay, so right now I want you to go ahead and pause the video, and I want you to try to work out these 3 inequalities. Go ahead and try on your own to work these out. All right, so here we see multiplication and division, and we know we just use inverse operations just like with equations. G is greater than or equal to 12. I've got a number line. 12 is my solution. Closed dot, but now it's greater than, so that's the option I choose. Would be with my arrow going to the right. Okay, greater than or equal to 12 means that 12 can be a part of the solution. Okay, so now I have this middle problem, and I have division connected to my fraction. If you remember this lesson, this negative is significant here. Okay, so I just want to emphasize this, maybe if it wasn't emphasized enough before now. Anytime I have to multiply or divide by a negative number, all right, it means that my inequality is going to switch. So now, before I do that, because my x comes second, I want to reorder it. Okay, it's still less than 8. And now, when I multiply by -3, x, okay, this is going to be -24, but because I had to multiply by a negative, this only applies to multiplication and division. Because I multiply by a negative, I now switch my inequality. Now it's not less than, instead it's greater than. All right, and then on the number line, I still go -24. To the left is -25 and -23. All right, open dot, and now my arrow is going to the right. Okay, so that's going to be really important. All right, now we've got a negative connected again to our variable. Okay, so remember what that means about what happens to our inequality. And again, it's only with multiplication and division. So if I divide by negative 40, both sides, x is now greater than negative 1/5. All right, well, this is a pretty interesting solution to have to graph, right? Negative 1/5. All right, so on your test, you're going to see a number line that maybe isn't made of whole numbers. Maybe it's made of, halves, or, maybe it goes 0, 1/2, 1, and 1.5 type thing. So as long as, and it's going to be pretty clear, it'll be pretty clear on the number line, but let's say, trying to make it similar to what you'll see on your test. So I'm going to put a couple extra numbers in here. Okay, let's say it's 0, negative 1/5, and negative 2/5, and then just 1/5 and 2/5. All right, so there will still be on your number line option on your test the option to graph that fraction. All right, and we just do an open dot with our arrow going to the right, just like the other ones. So there's just a lot of solving inequalities and graphing your solution on your test. That's really, it's between this concept and writing one-step inequalities. I want to say maybe there's between 2 and 4 problems like this on your test. So it's not many, but it's definitely on there. All right, so when we're writing a one-step inequality, we have to look for our keywords, okay? And in this case, greater than or equal to, that tells us the symbol, all right? So a number x minus 8 is greater than or equal to 10. Now, whatever variable it tells you to use, you need to make sure you use that variable. So if you say put an n in there, then the test actually rejects that as an incorrect answer. So make sure you use the variable they tell you to. And there you go, you have it. You've written your inequality. Now, it may ask you to only do that and kind of just stop there, or it may ask you to solve, which is fine. You just do your inverse operations, and x is greater than or equal to 18. You will never graph these types of problems, though. If you're writing the sentence as an inequality, this is as much as you'll do. Okay, let's look at the next one. The sum of a number, g, and 15 is at least negative 2. So you do have to remember these. And again, you're not allowed to have your notes in front of you. So you can't have those key words in front of you. You have to have them memorized. The sum of a number, g, and 15 is at least negative 2. So what symbol do you think belongs there? Does this part need to be less than or equal to, greater than or equal to? At least means minimum, right? If I say you have to be at least 48 inches tall to ride a roller coaster, 48's the bottom, or it has to be greater than that. So that's the greater than or equal to. Okay, and if you're asked to solve it, you can keep solving. I don't believe you solve these on your test, though. Okay, so probably a good 5 to 8 questions on your test deal with these, what we're going to call application problems. You've heard me in all of the lessons in this unit talk about inequalities in real life, okay? So I want you to take, and these will be multiple choice types of questions. I want you to take these situations, we'll call them, and I want you to put it into an inequality. So here we go. Children 13 and under eat free. So it's always going to give you this cutoff value. Okay, so children, and my 13 is my cutoff value. So do the children need to be, the ages need to be less than 13, greater than 13, equal to, in order to eat free, according to this scenario? So 13 and under means that the kids need to be less than 13 years old. All right, but if they are 13, that's still okay too. So this would be the inequality that represents that situation. All right, so I just want you to pause, and I want you to try to do these next two. Okay, you must be no less than 16 years old to drive. All right, so we'll do like A for age or D for drive. You won't have to worry about which variable because that's part of your multiple choice, but you need to know, how does the age compare to 16? What ages would be acceptable for this situation? Do they need to be greater than 16, less than, or equal to? All right, so no less than means that the ages must be greater than, but if you are 16, that's also okay. So that's how I know that it's greater than or equal to. The scale can hold no more than 2,000 pounds of weight. Okay, so now I have a scale and I've got my 2,000 pounds. So what inequality goes here, comparing to the 2,000? Would it be the scale has to have less than, greater than, equal to 2,000? All right, well, that no more than means less than. If it has 2,000 pounds, it should still be okay. 2001, not going to be okay. All right, so it's, as far as the different concepts on your test, it's really focused and concentrated on these three concepts: your real world situations, your inequality sentences, and solving your inequalities and being able to graph your solution. All right, so those are your main concepts that you need to focus on as you study for your quiz and your test this week.